Watch Dogs 2 is seen as some kind of redemption for the original, but the truth is, the game didn't sell all that well. Yeah, maybe it's because of the colossal dumpster fire that was Watch Dogs, but in my opinion, it's because the game isn't all that. The original had a lot of complaints: an empty trench coat for a protagonist, average visually, clunky driving mechanics. So what did Ubisoft do for the sequel? They replaced the brooding, monotone, humorless trench coat wearing Aiden with Marcus, a goofy hippie who is excited about everything for some reason. They replaced a gloomy setting with a sunny setting. They replaced the common revenge trope with the common taking down big corporation trope. I just want to say, I don't hate the sequel by any means, Legion has that honor, but seriously, just because someone doesn't crack a joke every 15 seconds, he's labeled an empty trench coat. Aiden is great, not Arthur Morgan great, but great. The next thing Watch Dogs 2 is apparently better at is in the graphics department. Considering the game came out 2 whole years later, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart a phrase that starts with no and ends with Sherlock. It's not like Watch Dogs 2 is miles ahead. It is better, but not by all that much. I mean, the game barely looked better than Mafia 3. A lot of its peers clearly look better. Even games like The Witcher 3, which came out a year and a half before this, look better in every single aspect. One thing Ubisoft have rarely failed at is world building, and both these games have incredible game worlds that just pull you in and immerse you in a way very few games can. Ubisoft's game worlds aren't impressive because of their size or their accuracy to their real life counterparts, at least in my opinion. It's the immersion that makes them great. The thing that I loved about Watch Dogs 1 and the thing that I feel the game does better than any third-person open world game is combat. Other than being a little too easy, the game's third-person combat is perfect. The way guns feel heavy and the way every bullet fired feels like a bullet fired, the effect of power is satisfying. It makes weapons feel like weapons instead of toys. You can watch a video of the game's combat and you'll feel this effect that I'm talking about. The game is compared to GTA 5 all the time, but guess what GTA didn't have? This powerful feel when in combat. But it's not just the weapons that make combat so good, it's everything you do in between. The parkour, hacking, the fluid cover system, and all those little tools and tricks, Blackout for example. Ubisoft made Assassin's Creed, arguably the best parkour system in a game if you consider Unity. Scaling buildings, leaping off ledges, and running around rooftops almost seamlessly. Compared to that, Watch Dogs is a literal walk in the park. Aiden is extremely responsive and reactive. Because of that, you want to keep moving and use that fluidity in combat. This isn't one of those games where you sit behind cover and take everyone out. You can do that, but the other way is so enticing, you will most probably end up running around and jumping all over the place. In that regard, these games do feel like Uncharted. But in Uncharted's case, you have to keep moving in order to have any chance of progressing. Watch Dogs 2 does this too, but something just feels off. Marcus always feels like he's about to stumble or run into a wall, but even then, I'd pick the movement here to most third-person open world games. Combat once again feels different, it's not as satisfying anymore. It doesn't matter if you choose a stun gun or something absurdly powerful, they don't feel all that different. But other than that, Watch Dogs 2 does have an outstanding combat system that has a degree of challenge that the original didn't have. One area where Watch Dogs 2 is clearly better at is driving mechanics. As responsive as Aiden was, the cars he drove were the mechanical equivalent to rogue horses. Not only were the actual mechanics bad, but vehicles looked god awful too. They legitimately looked like they were hovering above the ground most of the time. The sequel has much better vehicle handling. Racing across the city is actually fun instead of being frustrating and driving around with a constant sense of impending doom. Neither of these games have Shakespearean stories or anything like that. As I said earlier, Aiden is looking for revenge for the entire game. Marcus is part of a group trying to take down a major corporation. The sequel is a lot more sillier, even with a relatively high stakes story. You start off trying to get followers in order to have access to their machines and processing power. Yeah, the original does start off with a bang. The first section of the game does a great job in introducing you to the various mechanics, but it's a great prologue section any way you look at it. You're introduced to Maurice, to Jordi, who even on his best day is totally insane. The supporting cast is a mixed bag with Clara and Quinn and of course Aiden's family. Characters aren't the most complex, the plot is relatively simple, yet I loved everything that was going on. The game does have a habit of introducing some fun characters throughout the game like T-Bone and Bedbug. Watch Dogs 2 isn't personal, so sometimes I did zone out because there are so many missions that are basically you getting told what to do, which isn't all that exciting. Hacking. The series was built and marketed around hacking for the better part of 2 years, and what we got in the name of hacking was this: connecting wires or something. If you got sick and tired of that in the original, there's great news. You get to do that in 3D now. It is boring, stupid because it's more plumbing than hacking, and it comes up each and every mission to annoy you beyond belief. There are some cool stuff though, blowing up steam pipes, traffic signals, short-circuiting electric grids. Watch Dogs 2 did improve when it comes to hacking. Cars can now be your life-size RCs a la James Bond. There are plenty of gadgets like the RC jumper. Getting used to using them does take a while. Small corridors that only those RC jumpers can get into can be tricky the first few times as you aren't looking for them. I think Ubisoft did move in the right direction with hacking. Incorporating it into combat more and into normal stuff is the right move in my book. Watch Dogs 2 is a good game, but the original was a great game. It had so many wonderful elements that were completely overshadowed by the fact that the game didn't look as good as it was promised. Combat wasn't just good, it was the best in the third-person open world genre. The plot wasn't anything special, but it wasn't as bad as everyone claims. Aiden isn't the most fun protagonist out there, but he was interesting and intriguing nonetheless. For me, the series has gotten worse with every installment. 1 was outstanding, 2 was great, 3 was just plain bad. I mean, the play as anyone gimmick was just that, a gimmick that quickly fades to reveal the game for what it truly is, which is not all that good. What did you guys think about Watch Dogs 1, 2 and Legion? Let me know in the comment section down below. Subscribe to the channel while you're down there, it's a free way to show support. Thanks for watching and have a great day wherever you are.